Hello and welcome. This is Ayana Lahi, and I am so very happy that you are here with all of us today in this week's episode of Be One, Be You. We are diving into the theme when your thoughts create your suffering. Suffering is something that we all know. It is a human condition, feeling, experience. We buzz, move, weave in and out of our original true self, which is the us that is naturally connected into the infinite source of life. So, yes, this is the psychology of suffering, the psychology of being. And when we are truly being in the essence of who we are, and we're able to hang out there and be in that space, we can alleviate the agonizing experience of suffering. I know firsthand that suffering is passed on the invisible levels through our DNA of our ancestry, our familial patterns that are in the emotional body that can only transform through the presence of light. Light being the highest frequency that exists here in our human form. Without the light, we lose our connection into the divine being the infinite, incredible, mind-blowing experience of spirit, the essence of oneness. We all suffer when we have separated from the source that is within sight of ourselves. As a child, I felt a lot of suffering. And then as a young teen, I would move in and out of that state. When I would lose my connection into the source within myself, I would experience suffering. And as a child, I wasn't taught or given any tools to help me stay connected to my source. And I deeply wanted that connection. And by the time I was a young teenager, I was deeply, deeply, deeply seeking that connection and began to meditate when I was 14, which gave me a life preserver. It gave me something to really connect to and hold on to because it brought me into the state of myself, the true me, the beginning remembrance of who I am as the light that I am. And you too are the embodiment, the expression of the light. Without that conscious connection, we experience radical suffering. All of us go through suffering, seeing and hearing the tragedies that are happening around the globe, the hatred that is openly expressed, no longer just held within, the arrogance that is expressed creates a suffering in the heart that can feel as though our very being is being pulled apart. Unless, of course, your heart center is shut and then you don't feel what others do to you, what you see others do to each other, and what you do to others. And so, what we're really talking about here is the heart being open or the heart being closed. And to what level is your heart being consciously connected to so that you can transform the suffering that has passed down to you from your ancestral lineage and also what we bring in to our lifetime creates how we interact with suffering. I went through the awakening to suffering in my mid teens, and when I made the wrong choices in my life, I created suffering. And I would make the decision based upon not being connected into my source of information, guidance, and wisdom. And so, of course, all of us stumble and walk into walls and trip and fall. And we learn through those experiences. And I just want to honor your experiences that you have gone through to help you awaken because suffering teaches us how to awaken, teaches us to pay attention and to invite us to end the same patterns that keep us looped in to how we suffer. And we each have our own way of creating suffering. It is pretty unique. And I just want to invite you to be with any behaviors or addictions that keep you in the loop of feeling insecure, feeling unworthy, feeling as though you're not enough, feeling as though you don't matter. And those thoughts happen because we turn against ourselves. We ABR, abandon, betray, or reject ourselves, and we skip over the connection and we create the gap. And our mind is able to create whatever story it wants of how it can be in charge and in control, and that we just have to kind of get used to the gap and fill in the holes the best we can. This age that we're living in is so profound for so many reasons. But one of them is that you have constant choices about whether to check out or check in, to stay connected or to disconnect from that infinite wisdom, strength, infinite knowledge, the bliss of being alive, the bliss that happens through choosing to do what's best for you, right for you, to have that bliss in the moment, not spaced out bliss, but embodied bliss, where you feel that euphoria of possibility. And yes, I know what it's like to not have it, and I also know what it's like to have it. And to have it happens through an energetic connection and embodiment that naturally happens when we're grokked in, connected in, melded in, merged in to the source within ourself. And that source is not a controlling energy. It's not a I'm better than you energy. When I use the word energy, I'm referring to that potent, tangible connection. It's like where you just put two wires together inside yourself, and the charges of positive, negative are so complementary that, wow, you just connect in and the circuitry gets complete. And when you live in that place where your circuitry is complete, you're going to view circumstances that would normally create suffering in a whole different way. You'll be looking at situations with questions that bring truthful answers. Like, what's the purpose of my suffering right now? What is it that I'm supposed to learn? What am I missing? What am I repeating? The same old, same old. And I'd like to see that, feel that, witness it, dive in, jump in, meet the part of myself who's wounded. The wounded you is the you that wasn't loved. And that suffering can be pretty intense when it becomes abusive, whether psychological, intellectual, spiritual abuse, physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional abuse, environmental abuse, political abuse, the misuse of power. When power is truly that magnetic expression that happens through the positive and negative pole of your being linked in, so that your charge, your energy is aligned to your greatest thoughts of love. And those thoughts happen through your commitment to understanding what moves you, what you can trust, to develop a trust with that source within inside of yourself, guides you, leads you to being in the state of remembrance. Suffering's part of the planet. It's part of the grid. It's playing out big time right now. When thoughts of suffering, meaning deprivation, poverty, doing without, failing, falling through the cracks, losing out, losing, painfully witnessing emptiness. What do you do when those thoughts step up? And there is a silent despair. And the despair needs an outlet. And you're shown through our social media that despair is hid, covered over, or acted out in ways that hurt ourselves and hurt others. And we want to check out. So when the suffering comes up, you want to push yourself into making the connection into your body, into the energetic force field of light. And as your mind merges into the light within inside of yourself, you feel the light, see the light, create the light. It's there. And as you move into the light, it turns on the circuits that help you to reframe what feels impossibly painful. And yet, as shared when it comes to the abuse, when you are being violated, when you see others being violated, that's not when you transcend it or turn your cheek and look away. It's asking yourself what you can do to support another person or situation, to come see the light within themselves, to see, feel, experience, step through the door of a different perspective, a different relationship than the dark despair. There's nothing that creates suffering faster than despair. And what do we do when we see the despair in other countries and feel one with those peoples? And we have to recognize that we've all been there, whether this lifetime or in a previous lifetime. We want to dig up that knowingness, that feeling of remembrance, in order to have the compassion and to understand that our responsibility is to get the bigger picture. And that only can come from the higher self, the higher wisdom coming into us through being still. If you know of anyone who's being abused and experience suffering under the hand of someone else's behaviors that come from them being in separation, you need to do something. And you want to think about doing that something appropriately, legally, thoughtfully, and for everyone's highest good. And that's about taking responsibility. You can create less suffering in your own mind through paying attention to the messages that you've been given over your life to subdue your own talents and gifts, to repress and suppress the voice of the power that you are, not ego power, not that ego self who wants to prove itself, be recognized, show off, be acknowledged, have to be right, be in control. That's the lower self. That's the false self, the ego. This is about you, the you that's emerging every day has to emerge because the globe right now is being veiled by mind patterns, thought fields to have you doubt yourself and turn against yourself and turn against others. And in reality that we are all one and we are moving through suffering together in order to find results, outcomes, new solutions that happen from a new wave of thinking. That new wave of thinking is all encompassing. It's not self-centered for just the good of one person or a few people. It is the good for what creates a new system that supports and sustains the earth and the heavens coming together. The higher mind that is in union with the source of life, that infinite source, will reframe the word God into love, so that love is action. The action of being one with the infinite web, the structure, the new matrix of union where the divine and human meet. So I'd like to invite you this week to practice being in that divine human union where you are listening to the divine within inside of your being. And you invite your humanness, the very vulnerable human you, to create a rapport, take a walk together, take a shower together, make dinner together, be together. And this theme of moving through suffering ties into opening up, moving through the door of fear and entering into the union of love in your whole self. And this you will find how to do, how to master in the Evolutionary Empowerment Global Village that you can read about at my website, ayanalehi.com, IANALAHI.com, and I invite you to subscribe so you can stay in the loop of everything that I'm releasing and sharing and offering with you. Holding you in deep love, thank you so much for being here with all of us. Invite union into your week. Slow down and then speed up, and slow down into the union so that you can move in strength and grace in your life each day. Until next time, thanks for being here. This is Ayana Lehi.